Let's talk about credit cards, baby, specifically about Europe's weird relationship with them. You see, Europe loves plastic. They use it for everything from baguettes to BMWs. But here's the kicker. Those transactions mostly run through two American companies, Visa and Mastercard. It's like ordering a pizza in Italian, but having to pay the delivery guy in USD. Awkward, right? Enter Christine Lagarde, the financial queen bee of Europe. She's the head of the European Central Bank, which is like the Federal Reserve but with better snacks. Lagarde is tired of this American credit card dominance. Her solution? A pan-European payment system. Europe's money, Europe's rules. Simple as that. But wait, there's more. This isn't just about saving a few euros on transaction fees, this is about power, data, and the future of Europe in a world gone mad. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we're diving deep into the wild world of international finance. Lagarde isn't some idealistic dreamer, she's a sharp, seasoned economist who knows a raw deal when she sees one, and right now, Europe is getting played. See, every time someone swipes a Visa or Mastercard in Paris, Berlin, or Rome, a tiny piece of that transaction goes back to the good old US of A. We're talking billions of euros in fees, all flowing across the Atlantic. Now, Europe isn't exactly hurting for cash, but Lagarde knows that money talks, and right now, it's speaking American. But it's bigger than just money. This is about control. If America controls the financial plumbing, they can turn off the tap whenever they like. Remember those sanctions on Iran? Yeah, Europe wasn't exactly thrilled about those, but they had to play ball because their financial system was hooked into America's. Lagarde's plan is to cut the cord, to create a system where Europe calls the shots, where they can't be bullied or pressured by Uncle Sam. It's a bold move, some might even say, ballsy. Let's talk Turkey, or rather, euros. One of the biggest arguments for an EU payment system is simple, saving money. Every year, European businesses and consumers shell out billions in fees to Visa and Mastercard. Those fees add up, my friend. Think about it. That's money that could be staying in the European economy, boosting businesses, creating jobs, maybe even paying for some of those fancy high-speed trains. With their own system, Europeans could keep those euros right where they belong, in their pockets. Of course, building a new payment system won't be cheap. There are upfront costs, infrastructure to build, and let's not forget about all those pesky security measures. But long-term, the potential savings are huge. We're talking billions, baby. Billions. So, while the initial investment might sting a bit, the long-term economic benefits could be massive. And in this economy, every euro counts. Okay, so we've talked about the economics of it all, but there's another, more insidious factor at play here. Data. Data is the lifeblood of the modern economy, and it's being collected at an unprecedented scale. Every time you swipe your credit card, you're leaving a trail of digital breadcrumbs. These breadcrumbs can be pieced together to form a detailed picture of your spending habits. Where you shopped, what you bought, how much you spent, it's all there. This data can reveal a lot about your lifestyle preferences and even your financial health. And guess who has access to all that juicy data? It's not just the companies you shop with, but also third-party data brokers and advertisers. Yep, you guessed it. American companies. These companies often store and process data on servers located in the United States. Now, I'm not saying that Visa and Mastercard are out there selling your data to the highest bidder. At least, I hope not. But the potential for misuse is always there. But it does raise some eyebrows. People are becoming increasingly aware of how their data is being used and are starting to demand more transparency. Europeans in general are a bit more privacy conscious than their American counterparts. They value their privacy and are more skeptical of how their data is being handled. They have strict data protection laws like GDPR, which stands for General Data Protection Regulation, and they're not afraid to use them. These laws give individuals more control over their personal data and impose heavy fines on companies that violate them. So the idea of all that European spending data flowing through American servers, it's a scenario that many Europeans find troubling. Let's just say it makes some people uncomfortable. The thought of their personal information being accessible to foreign entities is unsettling. A European payment system would give the EU more control over its citizens' data. It would ensure that data stays within Europe and is subject to European laws. It would allow them to set their own rules, enforce their own standards, and protect their citizens' privacy more effectively, and keep Uncle Sam's prying eyes out of their business. This would be a significant step towards digital sovereignty for Europe. And in the digital age, where data is the new oil, controlling this resource is crucial. That's a powerful thing indeed. The ability to control and protect data can shape the future of economies and societies. Section 5, A World of Sanctions, the Geopolitical Chessboard. Alright, time for some real politic, folks. This is where the game gets serious and the stakes are higher than ever. Because this isn't just about money or data, it's about something much bigger, global power. The kind of power that shapes nations and determines the future. The world is changing and the balance of power is shifting. What was once a unipolar world is now becoming multipolar. The US is still a major player, but its influence is waning and new players are emerging. China, Russia, and other nations are stepping up to challenge the status quo. The EU, they're all vying for a bigger slice of the pie. Each one wants to carve out its own sphere of influence. And in this brave new world, financial independence is key. It's not just about having money, but about having control over it. Right now, the US has a lot of leverage over the global financial system. They can impose sanctions, freeze assets, and exert pressure on a global scale, and generally make life difficult for anyone who steps out of line. This kind of power can cripple economies and bring nations to their knees. Just ask Iran, Russia, or any number of countries that have felt the sting of American financial might. These nations have experienced firsthand the consequences of defying US policies, or any number of countries that have felt the sting of American financial might. The impact of these sanctions is profound and far-reaching. Europe, with its reliance on the US-dominated SWIFT system for international transactions, finds itself in a precarious position. Has often been forced to comply with these sanctions, even when it goes against their own economic or political interests. This dependency limits their ability to act independently, even when it goes against their own economic or political interests. The need for a more autonomous financial system is becoming increasingly clear. A European payment system would give the EU more autonomy on the world stage. It would be a game-changer in the geopolitical landscape. It would allow them to chart their own course, forge their own alliances, and negotiate from a position of strength, and stand up to the US when necessary. This newfound independence would enable the EU to pursue its own interests without external pressure. In short, it would make them a more independent and powerful player in the global game of thrones. The chessboard is set, and the pieces are moving. The question is, who will make the next move? Section 6. The Ghosts of SWIFT, a Cautionary Tale. Now, before we get too carried away with dreams of European financial domination, let's take a step back and learn from history, shall we? Because the EU has tried this whole independent payment system thing before, and let's just say it didn't exactly go swimmingly. Remember Instex? Yeah, me neither. It was this clunky, ineffective system that Europe cooked up a few years back to bypass US sanctions on Iran. It was supposed to be this grand gesture of European independence, a big middle finger to Uncle Sam, but in reality it was a flop. It was slow, expensive, and most importantly, it didn't really work. Iran remained largely cut off from the global financial system, and the EU learned a valuable lesson. Challenging the US's financial dominance is easier said than done. So the EU needs to be careful. Creating a new payment system is a massive undertaking, and there's no guarantee of success. They need to learn from their past mistakes, build a system that's actually usable, and be prepared for a whole lot of pushback from the US. Section 7. Can Europe build it? The tech challenge. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks, or should I say silicon chips. Because building a pan-European payment system isn't just about politics and economics, it's also about technology. And let's be real, Europe doesn't exactly have the best track record when it comes to tech innovation. I mean, sure, they gave us the automobile and the telephone, but lately, they've been a bit slow off the mark. While Silicon Valley has been busy churning out tech giants like Google, Amazon, and Apple, Europe has been, well, playing catch-up. The EU needs to step up its tech game if it wants to create a payment system that can compete with the likes of Visa and Mastercard. They need to attract top talent, invest in research and development, and foster a culture of innovation. They need to build a system that is secure, efficient, and user-friendly. They need to convince consumers and businesses to ditch their trusty Visas and Mastercards and embrace this new European alternative. It's a tall order, but hey, if anyone can do it, it's the Europeans. They just need to channel their inner tech wizard and get to work. Education will play a crucial role too. European universities and tech schools need to produce the next generation of tech innovators, and let's not forget about policy. Governments need to create an environment that supports tech growth and innovation. With the right mix of talent, investment, and policy, Europe can rise to the tech challenge. The future of European tech is bright, but it requires a collective effort from everyone involved. So can Europe build it? The answer lies in their ability to innovate, collaborate, and push the boundaries of technology. Section 8. The Euro's global moment. So, let's say Europe manages to pull it off. They build a successful payment system, ditch Visa and Mastercard, and achieve financial independence. What then? Well, it could be a game changer, not just for Europe, but for the entire global financial system. The euro is already the world's second most traded currency, right behind the US dollar. But a European payment system could give it a serious boost, making it a more attractive option for international transactions. Imagine a world where countries could trade with each other, bypass the US dollar entirely, and stick it to Uncle Sam in the process. We could see a multipolar financial system emerge, with the euro standing shoulder to shoulder with the dollar, the yuan, and other major currencies. This could lead to more competition, innovation, and maybe, just maybe, a more stable global economy. Of course, this is all just speculation, but the potential is there. The EU has a chance to reshape the global financial landscape, to create a system that is fairer, more balanced, and less reliant on the whims of a single superpower. Section 9. A new dawn for European finance. So, there you have it, folks. The EU's quest for financial independence is a complex, multifaceted issue with far-reaching implications. It's about economics, politics, technology, and the future of the global order. Will Europe succeed? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear, Christine Lagarde is playing for keeps. She's not afraid to challenge the status quo, to shake things up, and to fight for a more independent and powerful Europe. And hey, even if it doesn't work out, at least it'll make for some interesting headlines.